to 3.
Okay, we'll start now. We're on page Kuf. I'm sorry, Kuf Aleph, the last paragraph. Agav, it's parentheses. Rabbi Yoel has been taught us that the idea of Afal Pishi Shechota Yisrael has to begin with the idea of Yisrael as the basis, and the fact that he's Yisrael, Chota, is a very important, and you can't just dismiss it. And at the same time, you have to be Makarim. You have to know that it's important not to sin, and to accept an ideology of sinners being complacent in their position just because they have nationalism is not acceptable. And he says in the brackets, Agav, Kveit Kushas Mushli, this is the Rebbe, Hoyahu Shetziva Lahafetz Zois. The Rebbe was the one who instructed that the introduction, the letter of the Rashab about Zionism, against Zionism, should be publicized as an addendum to Kuntra Somayim. In other words, the Kuntras Omayin that we learned once, Chevra, was written by the Rashab as one of his 4 Kuntresim, his 4 essays that he wrote. And it didn't have an addendum, it was the actual essay itself. When they printed it when they printed it, I guess during the 50s or 60s, whatever it was, its printing, I'm not sure if it was the first time, but the second or third printing, the Rebbe instructed that they add the letter of the Rashab as an addendum. And this I find interesting because I didn't know it. In other words, I would have thought that the Friedeker Rebbe instructed that this be done. And I don't have Rabbi Yoel to ask here, if he's being medayik, which it seems he is, he's being particular in writing that the one who instructed that the addendum be printed together with the kuntris is the Rebbe. His point being, from this itself one can understand well our attitude, meaning the Rebbe and his Hasidim's attitude towards Zionists. So he's saying to this Satmar who's attacking Lubavitch, he's saying it was the Lubavitch Rebbe who went a step further than maybe his predecessor, and he instructed that the letter of the Rashab be printed as Kuntra Samayin to imply and show how much we're against Zionism. You got the point or not? Isser, Avram, you following? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, V'kama megucheches, and he writes, and how ridiculous. Megucheches means how ridiculous. Hataina, the argument should turn him that some argue, that the Satmar argue, shenot chas v'sholem derech harashab nishbazeidim. I told you yesterday that the Rebbe deviated from the path of the Rashab. He says that's ridiculous. He didn't deviate an iota. On the contrary, he instructed the Rashab's letter to be printed in the Kuntra Zamayim when it wasn't necessary. So he deviated. It's he who pushed the envelope. That's what he says in this parentheses. Avo kishaboyim liyehudi vayim, when you come to a Jew and you tell him, kifish chasidim Lubavitch Eisim, as the Lubavitch Chasidim do. Teda, you should know, shaboyimik libcha, the depth of your heart, atamayim b'Hashem yisborach, you believe in Hashem, uveteirosai, and is in Teira, v'yata reitzel akayim es kol b'tzvaseisav, and therefore you inherently want to do God's mitzvahs. Next page, top of Kuf Chav, Kuf Beis. And this that you think you don't want to do mitzvahs, or God forbid you don't believe, you're not a believer. It's only the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, that's convincing you. Ukaloshen Rambam, and he quotes the Loshen Rambam, the words of the Rambam that we said before from Hilchos Gerushin, chapter 2. Quote, Yitzroi hu shetokfoi. It's the Yetzer Hara that overpowers the person. V'lechem neged apnimiyos v'amiti shelcha. And the Yetzer Hara, opposes and fights your true inner self. Umasbirim loy, and the Lubavitch Chassidim explained to this Jew, sheYisrael v'cheit hem shnei hafchim, that being a Jew and committing a sin are two opposites. This statement of Chazal, that even though you sinned, he's a Jew, that's because from the Pnimius, his real Pnimius, his real essence is that he wants to fulfill the Torah. And that's why he's Yehuda. And the fact that he sins, it's because his Yetzer Hara opposes and battles and fights his Jewishness. So in other words, in this paragraph that we just learned, Rabbi Yoel explains what the Shita of Lubavitch is and how it understands the Chazal, Aval Pi Shechota Yisrael Hu. And that is that every Jew, every single Yid wants to do the Ratzon of Hashem, as the Rambam rules, and it's only the Yetzer Hara and the Nefesh Habamis that come and overpower him. Next paragraph, page Kuf Beis Velvel, Kuf Beis. Second paragraph. When we explain this to a Yid, there becomes the right attitude, the right ashkafa, the true ashkafa, which is contrary to the shita of Zionism, of Zionism. And what is the true? And what is the true shita? Shehu Yisrael, that a Jew is a Jew. The fact that he has a connection with Torah in a concealed way, and that causes him to come to the recognition that his outer trimmings, his outer experiences, in which he doesn't keep Torah, is bad and bitter. That's the truth. That's the reality. It's in bold. This idea of not keeping Torah mitzvahs is a fight that opposes Yadus Shebepnimis Nafsha, the Jewishness that's within your neshama. And this will ultimately bring him to do tshuva. That his Jewishness, that his Jewishness should not just be inside and concealed, it should be external and apparent. In thought, deeper speech, or mice in action, but in actuality, in everyday life. And by the way, what we just read reinforces and refutes the lie that Lubavitch, that Chabad, say, just come in, eat a good meal, and you can do whatever you want. You just heard it from Rabbi Yoel, who's the master in the name of the Rebbe and Lubavitch Rebbe's, that's a fallacy, that's a lie. And anyone who's living that lie, I don't care if he's a Chabadnik or not, is a liar, is wrong. The difference is the approach. Meaning to say, if someone walks into your shul, walks to your Chabad house, you say, hey, if you don't cut off your long hair, and you don't cut off your this, and you don't get out of shul, and you're wicked. No. But at the end of the day, you got to make a change in your life, and you got to work on not allowing your Yetzer Hara and your Nefesh Habamis to overpower you and stop doing the Aveira. So I just want you to know, because this has been I've heard it, I'm sure you've heard it, this has been one of the accusations, is, oh yeah, you go to Chabad and you can get away, do whatever you want. That's a lie. You can't do whatever you want. But the issue is whether you pressure him right away or you bring them in and you say there's 613 mitzvahs, and one day you will merit to do all 613 or as many as possible. Just like with a gay. Yes.
I had this vikuach with a lot of people about this. Most of them were dafka more on the Litvisher side, the Misnaglisher side. And basically what I tried to explain to them, and I don't know, maybe you could correct me if I was wrong, but I said to them the whole point of the Miftzah Teffilin that, I grew up with on 34th Street, right?
Yeah.
And watching that, I said it's about the Nitzotzim. It's about a spark. Once a guy puts on a pair of tefillin, he never put a pair of tefillin on, maybe it'll get him to think, maybe it'll get him to feel, it's not that you put him on tefillin and all of a sudden he's going to keep all the mitzvahs and everything. It's like an introduction. It's just a spark, like you light a match.
That is true, but it's even deeper, as the Alter Rebbe says in chapter, I think, 34 of Tanya. And he says there, every single mitzvah that's done by a Yid is an eternal bond. So it's not just that it's an introduction. The actual mitzvah already puts you in the camp of a Shema Torah mitzvahs. Now the fact is you aren't keeping so many other mitzvahs. Well, guess what? You and I aren't keeping all mitzvahs either. So it's just a matter of degree. So therefore the Zohar HaKadosh calls someone who never put on tefillin karkafta, the lo monach tefillin. Karkafta means a head. It's an Aramaic word, karkafta. And the Zohar writes very, very negative stuff about someone who never put on tefillin. So when you put on tefillin with a Yid one time in his life, and he never again will put on tefillin, you have taken him out from the category of a karkafta, the loy monach tefillin, into a category of a Jew that's put on tefillin, and that itself means that he does everything the Zohar writes that's negative doesn't apply to him.
Well, that says where in the Zohar?
Yes. No, the Zohar says that someone that's a head that's never put on tefillin, the Zohar writes very negative things, very strong things that will happen about that person. So I'm extrapolating. So now if you put on tefillin one time with a Jew, and he never again will put on tefillin, he no longer is in the category of someone that never put on tefillin. So everything that the Zohar says that's negative, bad against such a person doesn't apply. So you've done a great favor for this Jew. But that's another Nakuda. That's important for you to know as well. But what I'm saying, Yoni, is the Nakuda that I mentioned for Tanya, that every mitzvah is a bond with Hashem, a real bond. Not. It doesn't require another bond. Every mitzvah is a separate connection. And that's really the argument to the Litvish and others. What's the big deal to put on tefillin with a Jew one time or two times or three times if he's going home an hour later and having a cheeseburger? Or he's turning on the car or the television on Shabbos? The answer is one thing has nothing to do with the other. And now we say the third thing that you said before, that this will give him the impetus and the desire to realize that this is who he is in truth, the mitzvah, and to overcome the temptations of the Yetzer Hara and not to turn on the sheket. And the Rebbe once by Fabrengen, I remember in the 70s, the Rebbe spoke about, I believe in 74, I think the Rebbe came out with the mitzvah of 75, that girls should light candles from the age of 3 on. Remember that whole thing at Lakas Neiris? Not just married women. Yeah. Yeah. And the Rebbe and Rabbi Vadia Yosef and others didn't agree. Some agreed, but didn't say you shouldn't make a bracha. It was a very big discussion and disagreement in the frum community of Talmidei Chachamim, and many people did agree, whatever. So the Rebbe, one of the Fabrenga said, I got a letter from a mother who said, my little girl came home and she was told in Talmud Torah by some Chabadnik that taught a woman that the girl should light candles from young girls. And my girl came home and she said, "Mommy, I want to have a candle to light." So I said, "Okay." The mother didn't light candles. So when it came Friday night, the Rebbe said, the girl lit candles, and she said to her mother, "What's the blessing?" So the mother took out and helped her with the blessing, with the bracha. But then the mother was embarrassed that the daughter is lighting and she's not lighting. So the mother lit candles too. Then the next Shabbos, the girl says to the mother, "How can the television be playing when we light candles, when we're doing something for Hashem?" And mother said, "You're right." And the mother shut the television. So, and slowly the Rebbe said, the whole house became a Shomer Shabbos house. So what do you see? From one little girl lighting one candle, the house became a Shomer Shabbos house. So the two things we have to know is, the fact that the house will become or might become a Shomer house, that's great. But even if it doesn't become a Shomer Shabbos house, the fact that you lighted one candle, you've done a mitzvah, and that mitzvah brings light into the world, to your family, and it's eternal. That's all. They're not going to learn in kollel, and they might not learn in kollel, and they might go to the movies an hour later. Yeah. So if the person who imbues the message and the person who hears the message wakes up and says, like this little girl said to her mother, they're not going to go to the movies in a few weeks. Because the little girl says, "How can you go to the movies? We just did a mitzvah. We lit a candle." So it's all in the perspective, and the thing itself is the connection. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you wanted to say something. Oh, you did?
Didn't raise my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue. Kuf Beis.
The dolphin.
Yes.
The dolphin.
Yes.
That was kind of our story. That's how we became religious to our daughter. She started going to Hebrew day school, and she started wanting to do more and more stuff. We ended up following her along. Next thing you know, the whole family came, Shomer Shabbos, and Yerushalayim.
Okay, so here it is. You're a living example, you and your family, of what the Rebbe said, and that's Farbrengen. It's but people just want to, say, "Hey, what's the big deal?" They'll just put on Teffilin one time or light a candle. What?
Now I want to say something.
Okay.
So I remember we had the discussion of 999 go in and one comes out.
Yeah, the Gemara.
Yeah?
It's a Gemara. Yeah.
Right. So I've heard the critique, and I've seen myself many people who are involved with Chabad for years and years and years, and they're holding at the same place as when they came in. Maybe they're doing one mitzvah, or maybe they're going to shul, but that's it. That's the extent, and it's years and years and years, and they're staying where they're at. But to the story that you told, that's the one. If 999 go in, and only one comes out, it's worth the one.
Yes. But I want to just add to what you said is.
That the 900. I do agree that even the small mitzvahs,
I understand.
The few mitzvahs that they're doing are valuable, but an argument.
Right. But why don't those that criticize ask themselves a question? And I'll ask the question about myself. Am I changing and I learn and I daven and I teach? Am I changing for the way I know I'm supposed to be? No. So if it's easy to say, "Oh, they're just doing one mitzvah," and I'm doing 7 mitzvahs, and I'm stuck at my 7 mitzvahs. What's the difference? And Adarabah, Isser, I'm worse, because I know better. Pay the Lamed and Tanya. That's the Alter Rebbe's point there. They are sitting on the corners with all the schmutz in front of their eyes, with all the temptations. But I'm sitting here in Borough Park, and you're sitting in Bet Shemesh. right? And we're surrounded with Kedusha and Tahara, and look how we look. And look what we do. Compared to what we should be doing, we're doing nothing. So who's worse, they or I? So what I'm saying, it's so easy to say, oh, they're coming to Chabad house and they're doing the same one mitzvah. They don't know any better. The Rebbe taught us, this is what I learned from the Rebbe, many things, but to always look at yourself, really, and it's hard. But if you do, if you're honest, and you'll see that you're a lot worse than them. Really, because I know so much better. I know the way I daven. It's not up to par. I know the way I learn or how much I should be learning, and I'm not doing that. I know the Dachnos Zarchim, on and on. So what right do I have to point the finger? I'm telling you that this Isser is Klippa. It's not coming from Kedusha at all. I promise you. It's a Klippa because it makes you feel the person better. I can point the finger on him, at her, at they, and I'm doing so much better because I'm religious. No, where did they come from? Where did they come from? What did they learn? What did they know? Nothing. Little. Okay, we discussed it many times. I want to go back to the text. Let's go on. So he says, second paragraph on the page, on Kuf Chaf. I'm sorry, Kuf Beis. Another point. The war that Chabad wages against nationalism within Zionism, the nationalism of Zionism, in other words, Rabbi Yoel now saying all this. Let's take a look at the style of Chabad's opposition to Zionism and nationalism. He says, how do they do it? Through mavhira, through enlightening, through illuminating. Umazberes, and explaining Shemuhusa Shel Yehudi, that the essence of a Jew, who akesher LaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's his connection to God through Torah mitzvahs. V'shekesher alzeh yesh behelim b'cholech b'Yisrael, and this connection there is by every Jew in a concealed way. He milchama har begadei yoyser. Rabbi Yoel says, this is a greater war, ma'milchama shel Satmar neged Zionism, than Satmar's opposition to Zionism. And now he says, he said, and to understand what I just said, that the approach of Lubavitch in its opposition to Zionism is greater than Satmar's approach to Zionism. I'll give you an example. Etin dugma pshuta. There was many kinds of idolatry in the world. Baal, Pa'or, Melech, V'oid. And every idol, it wasn't just Avram bowing to an idol. It had a shita, it had an ideology, as explained in Svarim. He says, the war, the opposition to the Avodah Zarah of Baal, for example, it could have been in two ways. Aleph, one, to announce publicly that this idol called Baal, whose sheker is false. That's one thing. Beis, another way to oppose the Baal, to make the announcement publicly, v'gam lahasbir, but simultaneously to explain ha'amuna b'Hashem echad, what does it mean to have belief in the one God. Rabbi Yoel says the difference between these two styles is very, very simple. Kishemachrizim, Zionism on page Kuf Chaf, the next to the last paragraph from the bottom. Kishemachrizim Shabal hu sheker, when we announce that the Avodah Zarah Baal is false, adayin ein yodim, we still do not know shegam Pa'or u'melechem sheker. We don't know about the other idols, whether they are false, right? Because what am I attacking? I'm saying this Avodah Zarah, this idol is false. Mashenke, conversely, Kishamachrizim or Masbirim. When we announce and we explain, we don't talk about the idol. We talk about what does it mean to believe in God. As I misbatlin b'meila, then automatically are annulled. All ideologies of all idols in the world. In other words, by the second away, Velvel, by understanding what Emunah in God is, anything that's outside of Emunah in God is false. So whether it's Melech or Baal or this, it makes no difference. Rabbi Yosef uses this as an example to our situation. The same things in our case. When we announce that nationalism within of Zionism, of Zionism, is heresy, which is the Satmar way of doing it, it gives you no understanding what the true essence of a Jew is. You know nothing about the Jew. All you know is you have to scream. Outrageous! Throw the rocks! Throw the rocks! You're not teaching them what Shabbos is, you're just throwing the rocks. And if there comes along another ideology of heresy that's similar to the ideology of nationalism, could be that others will follow it. Why? Because you opposed only this shita. You threw the rocks only on Shabbos, but on Chalamoid or this day, it's all acceptable. In other words, you're not attacking the core issue by explaining what it means to be a Jew. You're attacking the external aspect of the issue, and therefore you're attacking one issue at a time, and that issue doesn't tell you anything about anything else. Let's continue inside. Not only this, even the knowledge, even the information that nationalism is false, but since you did not take the time to explain why it's false, therefore the knowledge is very superficial. Next page, top of Kuf Gimel, and it's not recognized and understood from the inside of the person. Conversely, when you emphasize and you announce what the essence of a Jew is, the way the Lubavitcher Rebbe does it, he talks about what a Jew is, and that's what he emphasizes. Therefore, automatically will be annulled all the ideologies of heresy by recognizing what the true essence of a Jew is, whether those false shitas will be nationalism, whether it be other shitas. So what's Rabbi Yoel saying? Rabbi Yoel saying basically the approach that you guys are doing is a half of approach. Or in a way, it doesn't accomplish the goal because you're attacking this particular thing from the outside. You haven't given the person an understanding of what it means to be a Jew and to believe in Hashem, etc., etc. And therefore, something else comes along and they don't see and hear the fiery storm against it. They'll say, I'll go with this. So that's what happened, Takechevra, in Russia, right? There was first communism and intellectualism and humanism and Zionism, and every few years you had another ism. So what happened? So when one ism fell aside because the person or the group realized it's narishkeit or it's heresy, they found something else, another ism. But if you use the approach, he says, of Lubavitch and the Rebbe to show what a Jew is, and once you understand what a Yid is, that all isms will fall aside automatically. Why? Because it contradicts the kernel, the essence of what a Jew is. What time is it? I don't have a watch. What time is it?
3:15.
Okay, yes, you understand?
Rabbi Nelson, in 1975, I was about a year from, I would come to Chabad, and I had long hair at that time, it was down to my shoulders.
Okay.
When I came to Chabad, and nobody said anything about cutting my hair, anything like that, nothing. But when I put on Teffilin, every 5 minutes somebody came to check my Teffilin. And I couldn't take it anymore. So I cut my hair off.
Yeah, that's similar to right. It's similar to Rabbi Chadakov, the Rebbe's secretary, who would walk back after the Farbrengen, and he passed a store that was open on Shabbos. He didn't say anything. He just looked inside. From the outside, he looked at the person, and the Yid had a store open on Shabbos. He got embarrassed. A month later, the store was closed on Shabbos. Chevra, we'll talk tomorrow morning. Zeit gesund. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Be well.
Take care.